Hi, and welcome to A View from the Bed. This is a CHI St. Vincent podcast where we talk to real patients about their healthcare perspective. We know that your healthcare journey can be scary, so that's why we want to get their view on the good, the bad, and the ugly from diagnosis to recovery. Enjoy today's episode. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. We are going to be speaking to someone that has went through a breast cancer journey. And so we're going to get to meet Angie. Mm-hmm. So Angie, thank you for being here today.
Sure. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So you went through breast cancer. Mm-hmm. How recently?
So it's been since last November is when I was actually actually October is when I did the initial screens. And then I was told I had breast cancer and then had my first that's through October, and then had my first surgery in November.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. So short period of time.
Yes.
So before October, mm-hmm. did you get regular mammograms and screenings?
So I did. And I'll just tell on myself, I'm one that what they call dense breast, okay. Which everybody loves to be told that they have. But the regular mammograms were not catching mine. Oh. And that I did, the way that they caught mine was by accident, in the fact that I had a spider bite.
Oh my gosh.
That actually got infected. Mm-hmm. It spread, and who gets bit on their tata, I don't know, but it just happened to be right where my cancer was.
Oh, wow.
And so they, or near the cancer. So I was very fortunate in that I had additional screenings that eventually did catch the cancer. And it's one of those that, because of that spider, it ultimately ended up saving my life.
That is so crazy. Mm-hmm. I mean, a spider bite just fell in your shirt, fell in your bra or something.
Well, here's what happened. I hang my work clothing in my laundry room on the back of a door that's right next to my garage. Oh. And I think what happened is it had gotten in my work clothes, and I throw them on and go out the door.
Throw them on and go.
Yes, but I did not feel anything. Didn't even know I had the spider bite until it started showing up, and then the infection just immediately just expanded.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. I think that's a little divine intervention.
Yes, I know it is.
So, some women that might be watching this might not be used to what having dense breast tissue means. Mm-hmm. So when they explain that to you, tell us a little bit about how they explain that to you, what that means, having dense breast tissue.
Well, I'll put it in layman's terms. It's called you have a little bit extra weight. And and it's not just weight. I mean, there are some skinny people that I'm sure can also have dense breasts, but it's where the breast is just harder to see through, like the regular diagnostic mammogram, which most people get, and everybody tells you to go get your mammogram. That's normally what most people do. When you have dense breasts, it doesn't necessarily catch everything because they can't see beyond all the tissue. It's just really hard to see beyond all that tissue. And therefore, they will then send you to get an ultrasound done. Okay. And the ultrasound is what found my cancer. I did the diagnostic. They did that first, didn't see anything. And then when I went to have the ultrasound done, I'm going to tell you there is an ultrasound tech that is at the St. Vincent Breast Center that she is the reason why I am still here today, along with my surgical team. But that ultrasound tech was just incredible. She made me feel so comfortable. Mm-hmm. She would talk the way through it. She was like, okay, now why did your doctor send you here today? So she knew what the doctor was asking for, but she also wanted to hear from me what I was worried about. And in my mind, all they were looking for was, did the infection from my spider bite go deeper?
Gotcha.
And so she's doing the ultrasound check, and she goes, now just remind me what your doctor wanted us to look for. I said, all I know is you're supposed to look really deep. And she had already done the initial scans and didn't see anything initially. And then when she did what the doctor had initially said to go deep, that's when she found it. And you could tell, I still had no clue. I had no clue what was going on, she made me feel comfortable. She made me feel like it was no big deal to go through the screening, the wand process. And even when she measured, she goes, we're just going to take a little bit of pictures. We're just going to go through this. And then she goes, I'm going to go call your doctor, and she's going to let us know the next step. So I know now that at that time she was running to go tell the doctor what she had seen.
Okay.
So her doctor, but then her doctor ultimately called my breast surgeon, who was able to, then we moved on from the next step from there and figured out what needed to be done.
So what stage was it when they caught it?
So I ended up being a stage 2, what they call B, because my ultimate journey, which started out with just a lumpectomy, and that was done in November 7th, and I thought that was it. I mean, I had done a breast MRI. The breast MRI just showed it in that one little spot, and they thought, this is good to go. We're good. Yeah. And so I came in and I did a lumpectomy thinking that, everything was good. And I don't think I ever really let it sink in at all that I even had breast cancer, because I had no symptoms. I had nothing. I had no lump. I had no itching, no discoloration other than that infection that, they were treating. I honestly thought breast cancer, you would know the majority of the time that you had it. And it's because I really didn't know people that had breast cancer. My grandmother back in her 50s had breast cancer, but I didn't get to follow on that journey. So I really didn't know anybody that had it. Yeah. And so in my mind, even after we were doing the lumpectomy, I'm thinking, we got this. I had full trust in my surgeon, and Dr. Preservit was incredible. You can tell she really knows what she's doing, and I felt really comfortable. I wasn't even that scared. And I guess it was when I got the pathology report back, then it started sinking in. Because they had told me, and they told my husband, because before I left, that after they had done the lumpectomy, they had given some dye that they didn't come back and did an x-ray after the mass had been removed. And at that time, it was kind of like a little bit of an explosion or something, where in my small mass, I think there was 5 sprinkles of where the cancer had started to go into other tissue. Wow. And so she had also taken out my sentinel lymph node, which came back from that pathology report, and that came back positive. And so at that time is when it started sinking in, wait a minute. Yeah. This could be, a little bit more. It really wasn't. When I first got diagnosed, I was like, piece of cake. We got this. I don't have any symptoms. I'm all good to go. Yeah. And then when I got that report back, they sent me for further scans. And that's at that time, she gave me 3 options. And I also at that time was like, you just decide. I don't know what I need to do. And she was very adamant, which I giggle about now, because at the time I was like, why can't she just tell me what I need to do? Yeah. She was like, I don't give you any options that are not safe. And she said, you have to decide what is best for you. And so it didn't take me long. My last mammography that I had done on my opposite side of my breast, they had found a small, just something they were watching. They had said at that time that they didn't feel, I heard the pathologist talking with the tech at the same time, and they said it wasn't any big deal. You know, they would watch it. Well, in my mind, it had dissolved when I came back and did all these tests on its own, which meant it was okay. But with that happening and with my sprinkles being on the inside, I decided to just do a double mastectomy. That was one of my options. Knowing my grandmother had breast cancer in her 50s, I was 52 when I was diagnosed. And so that was the other thing that I just decided at that time, I didn't want to go through the constant what if, you know, and having to go check. But knowing that I'd already had a little bit of an issue and that I didn't know, you know, where it spread, I decided to do the double mastectomy. I also at that time decided I was not going to go through reconstruction. I had already been through, in my mind, so much because after my lumpectomy, I don't think my first infection from that spider bite had ever cleared completely. And I got another infection exactly like the infection that I'd gotten from that spider bite in between surgeries. So I had to wait on that infection to clear up before I could do my double mastectomy. And at that time, I was done. I'm like, nope. I'm not going to worry about it. You do you. I'm happy to be me. I had several people giving advice. I had several people like, okay, everybody asked, when are you going to get your reconstruction? For some, I'm sure it is fantastic. But in my stage, I'm married to my high school sweetheart who is supportive from day one. You do what you feel like will help you physically and mentally. And I knew with his support, I'm going to cry because he has been my rock. But you do you and move on. And so I'm very thankful for everybody that has been there through my whole journey. But family has been my biggest strength.
How crucial is it? Because like you said, you kind of process a diagnosis, right? You know, you first get it and you're just kind of like, okay, I hear what they're telling me. And then you go for the lumpectomy and you're like, okay, I'm processing this. But then you hear, we need to do more. And then it just kind of hits you. So talking about that the people that are around you and focusing on the ones that really are, I would say maybe your lighthouses. You know, people can throw a lot of unwanted advice and opinions. And talk about that a little bit. Like, what kind of made you realize, you know, and you talked about the infection part, but I don't have to do this right now. If I don't do reconstruction right away, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
So after I was diagnosed, I remembered a friend of mine had sent me a text message. Her name's Rochelle. She had, a while back, had told me that she had breast cancer. And I totally forgot about it. And so when I got my diagnosis, I immediately texted her and was like, okay, here's the, you know, what. She also was a rock to me in that she immediately sent back texts and gave me a list of, here's what you need, you know, call me if you need anything. She got on Amazon and sent me a book that went through, it was a lighthearted, it helped me not focus on the negative. And they call it breast cancer humor. And then they give you a list of like gift ideas and things that things that you can buy for your surgery and different kinds of things. And her just taking the time to walk me through. And I was so confused because I also had no idea with breast cancer that there were so many different kinds. And even in those different kinds, there were so many different options for what you can have done based off of your numbers. And there's so much lab work and you're trying to figure out what makes the most sense. And so I initially went to Google, which don't ever do. Don't ever do.
Google can be
Don't ever
terrible.
do. And part of it too was because when I was getting the doctor would share my pathology reports, but then you can also go look at your pathology reports online.
Yeah.
And I just kept seeing these buzzwords. It started out ductal, and it was initially just in the one little spot. And then as they would go deeper, then they figured out, it was more. And when I finished my double mastectomy, waited on that pathology report, and we were still having fun, I had another positive lymph node. So at that time, they had taken out, during the double mastectomy, they had taken out 16 of my lymph nodes.
Oh, wow.
Which is a lot.
That's a lot.
And only one more out of the 16 came back positive. So I had 2 of 16 were positive.
Okay.
Well, I made the mistake of looking at my pathology report that in their terms talk about it had metastasized. Oh. But in their minds, it had metastasized to my lymph nodes, which meant it was going somewhere else. Yeah. But because of Katie, my godsend tech that's over at the St. Vincent Breast Care Center, because of her being able to find it and then Dr. Preserve it, my surgeon, being able to, look at things very carefully, and they don't give up. That's what it's like. You don't feel like a number.
Yeah.
You feel like every step of the way, somebody had your back.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's super important especially when you're going through those uncertain moments in your diagnosis that you feel like, okay, we're not quite sure at this moment, but we're going to keep going.
And then I had coworkers who would just, they would ask you how you're feeling. I had started this, I've always been like this, but I know you have a choice. You have a choice to focus on the negative that's going on in your life, or you can make things focus on the positive. And I've always been like that. And once I got, once it sunk in that I have breast cancer, I decided I was going to wait. Every day is a gift. And even though mine has come back now, that, yes, I had more lymph nodes that had tested positive. And, what do we do now? I'm cancer free.
That's exciting.
And it was because Dr. Preserve It went in, and in her mind, well, she thinks I'm still young, even though I've got all these gray hairs.
You are still young.
But in her mind, she was going to do everything she could do to give me a chance to fight.
Yeah.
And I'm still fighting. Even though I'm cancer free, you still have to go through scans.
Yeah.
I just had another scan yesterday, and you're always, you're wondering, wait, could this be something else? And even though I've had my CAT scan, I've had my, bone scan, I've had MRIs, I've had everything. In your mind, you're like, okay, but what if?
Yeah.
What if? And that's why I'm still teary now.
Sure. Because
you just, once you've been diagnosed, you're a different person.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what is so cool about, on this podcast, we talk to all different kinds of patients. That's so important to share is how you feel is how you feel, and however you feel is okay. And every day is a different day. Yeah. I had a surgeon tell me one time, don't judge your progress day to day, judge it week to week, because every day you might feel a little different, but week to week, you can see the progress that you've made, especially like after a surgery, not just with healing, but even emotionally.
And I think for me, initially after my first diagnosis and surgeries, I had to take it day by day.
Yeah.
I had to take it day by day, because if I looked too far, I I was also during the holidays.
Yeah.
I hit Thanksgiving and Christmas between my surgeries.
That's rough.
And so I had to wait for my, the results, even from my double mastectomy, to find out, what had happened and do I have to go further?
Yeah.
And so I met with my surgeon on December 28th. And at that time, that's when I got that pathology report that I ended up reading later that said it had metastasized.
Yeah.
But that pathology report was just talking about my lymph nodes, not that it had already reached other organs, and so, or the bone. And so I went for 2 weeks thinking that I had 6 months to live.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Well, and I think that's a good point that you bring up, because I know sometimes, with patient portals and things where you get access before you can talk to the doctor or before they have a chance to tell you what things mean. We go to Dr. Google or we go to a doctor within ourselves. And it's like, okay, if we would just ignore the email that our pathology reports in, wait for us to talk to the doctor, and just kind of live in the moment. I think that's important to share with individuals if they're on a journey with their health, because that can be the difference between anxiety and peace.
Right. And knowing that it's okay to call your doctor's office, because I was one thinking that I'm strong. I know I'm strong. I know I can do this no matter what. Even if I wouldn't have gotten the best report, I knew I could do it.
Yeah.
But, and I was going to do whatever it took and whatever, I want to do everything possible.
Yeah.
And so, but I think for me, it was, you got to stay off Google, because, and if you have the question in between, call the doc. The nurses are wonderful. Whitney, Dr. Preservet's nurse, she's like, girl, all you had to do is pick up the phone. When I told her later that I had gone 2 weeks before my oncology appointment, that's why it was 2 weeks. It had been my oncology appointment for her to tell me this is, we have caught it in time.
Yeah.
Whitney with Dr. Preserve, was just like, you just pick up the phone, call me. But I didn't want to bother you. And there's a difference in bothering somebody and in your mind trying to get information and make sure that you didn't get false information or that you're not reading into things that really weren't there that I saw on paper, but it wasn't the case, because every case is different. And there's so many different factors that go into breast cancer that I had no idea about, but now I understand.
Yeah.
Once I got with the oncologist, I understood.
And I love this, by the way. I mean, there's going to be humor when it's called When Boobs Attack.
Yeah.
So a girlfriend's guide to breast cancer. So definitely, if you know somebody going through this journey, or you yourself are going through a journey, look it up. I mean, anything you can do to just add a little positivity into your life.
And they give you, that's the other thing that I messed up on. Dr. Preservet's office gave me it was a booklet that talk about when you have breast cancer. It gives resources, both financially and mentally, and things to look out for, and everything you do. Did I read it? I skimmed through it.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was just going to go with the flow. Yeah. I was just going, I can do this. I have family support that helped me. I had a very, very high deductible, which, at first it was, oh my gosh. And I had family help. I had, my employer has been wonderful to me. And I just, you've got to have support, and you've got to look for places to go to get resources. So read what they give you. I was in my mindset once I realized this is real, like this is a big deal. I was kind of to the point where I didn't want to read anything.
Yeah.
I got up, I did what I had to do. I watched a lot of TV shows, and that is one thing that you can do for your family or friends is give them care packages throughout the journey, from the beginning to the end. And I'm not talking about just sugar them up. Doesn't have to be salty and sweet. It can be a list of your favorite TV shows or your favorite movies. Break it out by genre so they can pick what gets with them. For me, I wanted comedy. I wanted comedy. I wanted to feel good because I was sitting there with, drains coming out of my body, and, my husband, bless his heart, had to help me through all that. Yeah. But there were times in between where you just felt so alone. Yeah. Even though you knew family was there, neighbors were there, friends were there, you still felt alone. Yeah. But when you would look into, I'd have people bring food. I would have, and say yes. When people say they want to help, take them up on it, because believe me, you need it. You need it. And, so I had friends and neighbors. My neighbors were wonderful, brought food, checked on me. But do little care packages, like, little something to just take their mind off of it. Yeah. And
I love that too, because even, find out what subscription services they have, because you can gift subscription services. Yes. So it's like, oh, you don't have Disney Plus? Yeah. Well, here's a little Disney Plus subscription, for them to find some different shows and things. Yeah. That's a good idea.
And the gift cards were wonderful to restaurants, and, even had the food delivered to you. Yeah. So those were very helpful, because I felt guilty not being able to cook, because I know my husband was still working his full-time job, and then he would help me with my drains and with bandages and whatever that I needed. Yeah. He helped me. Mm-hmm. I do know there's people out there, though, that don't have help. Yeah. And that's when there are online resources. Okay. Susan, the Susan G. Komen has, people that are there. You can ask your doctor's office. They will help. But the most important thing is, don't feel like you are ever, ever, ever alone, because you're not. You're not. Even if you don't have as much family support and friend support and work support that I had, there is support out there and people that are willing to help. Yeah. I'm on some, some group chats that people will answer in and ask questions, and there's an AI generator that will also go through and give some tips, and then say, of course, we're not the physician. You need to follow up your physician, but here are some ideas and things like that where we can just go in and support each other. Yeah. That means all the difference in the world to survive this, and to know that it's okay to be sad. I have my ups and my downs, and especially when I start talking about it, then I go back. But it's okay to be sad sometimes. Yeah. Everybody's like, I can't believe you're being so positive all the time about this. And I'm like, if you only knew, every now and then I have my little moments by myself, and that's okay. Because I am scared, and I know for the rest of my life that I will be scared. Yeah.
Well, and you bring up a good point too, because I know sometimes we think we're superhuman, or it's a weakness if we need help. Yeah. But the reality is people want to help. Yeah. And they also feel helpless. Yeah. And so it's like, to your point, it's like, maybe you don't have a lot of family, but maybe you go to a church where you have people that want to help in the church, or if you're part of a group, a community group or something, like call on those resources. Ask your neighbors. Let your neighbors know what's going on, because people really do want to find out how to help. And that is really important. I think, too, even in our own personal emotional healing, letting people help also lets you realize that you're not physically alone, but also you do need help. Yeah. Which is a hard thing sometimes for us to realize.
But also something on that is, when people do give advice, know that everybody's journey was different. Yeah. And that just because it happened to somebody doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. Yeah. or just because that person can't do something anymore doesn't mean you can't do something anymore. Because I also had a really down period where one of my best hobbies in the world, I had somebody that said, you can't do this anymore. You know, with that many lymph nodes out, you can't do that anymore. Oh. And so I was devastated. I mean, devastated. Yeah. And then I was able to talk. One of my tips was make sure you do your therapy. Oh, yeah. And I was able to talk to my therapist and say, okay, girl, what can I do so that I can keep doing my hobbies? And she goes, oh, well, you can still do that. You just need to do this, 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 and this. But just know that advice is wonderful, but not all advice is for you. Yeah. You do you. That's what will get you through this. Yeah. You do you, and you figure out what makes the most sense and is best for you.
Well, and I think that's a good tip too, because even if someone's watching today and you're a friend or a family member of someone going through a new diagnosis, whether it's breast cancer or anything else, you know, don't speak absolutes, right? Maybe you experience something, but make sure that if you want to give advice, one, it's welcomed. And then two, that you're like, hey, here's what happened to me. I just wanted to share, but it doesn't mean it's true for you. So, you know, I think that's a really important tip to share is if you're the one giving advice, you know, be really careful how you give that advice. I can't talk to you and not ask you this question because you mentioned, you know, for your journey, you did not want to go through the reconstruction.
Right.
We have a lot of women that watch this podcast. So how do you feel? How did you kind of come to terms with, okay, you had your double mastectomy. You looked down for the first time since you were probably, 11, and nothing is there. How does that feel? Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, for me, the way that I was brought up, it wasn't always about physical looks.
Sure.
And, you know, I wasn't blessed being a beauty queen. I mean, I wasn't blessed, I say, being a beauty queen. But I knew that I just had to pull from within. Yeah. And I'd known several people that had issues once the reconstruction had started, and that they had so much scar tissue that theirs didn't take. Okay. And that it may not be for everybody. Yeah. I also know people that love it. I mean, it's the best thing ever. They got to pick what size they wanted to be. They got to, you know, they got to get neater clothes. You know, they got to do that. But for me and my journey, I just knew I was tired. I was tired, and I looked into what all went into it, and it was hard, and it wasn't that I couldn't take more, sure, but it was in my mind I was okay with being done, and they're like, you can change your mind later, it's okay. I'm not changing my mind. I'm not changing my mind. I'm okay, and I'm okay knowing that, you know, they make silicones that you can slip into things and nobody's going to know. I did have a moment where I still had some of my swelling, and I went out, I looked down and I thought, hey, I still got a little booblets is what I call them. Little booblets. I got all excited because I was thinking, you know, this is great. I still have some. And then that swelling goes down a little bit. Yeah. and then you look down and you're seeing you're not catching little crumbs on your breasts anymore. And now it's your little tummy. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. And I think part of it is because I was as strong as I could possibly be, but I wanted to move on. In my mind, I wanted to move on. And not getting the reconstruction was my way of just saying, cancer, I just kicked your rear end.
Yeah. And that's exciting. And sometimes you just need that. You just need that moment of finality where you can say, I'm done, check the box, my body can heal. You know, I can live with my new normal. And
I'm sure, I mean, I went through my bra drawer, got rid of, you know, and that was mentally hard.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Sure.
But I get to get new clothes.
Right. Exactly. And guess what? You don't have to, like, when you get off work, you don't now have to go take it off.
I know. Well, it is. And it is one of those that I'm still happy because I had so many nodes and because of I'm still wearing my therapist is like, you still need to wear your surgical. They give you a surgical bra coming home from the hospital. Okay. But also ask your therapist what bra makes the most sense after you are finished with your surgical bra. Yeah. Because I still have to wear it just for compression purposes to keep the fluid going, because I don't have the lymph nodes that are helping me with my fluid as much anymore. Okay. And so, but I will get there where I can laugh when I'm the one that doesn't have to wear the bra.
That's right.
I can just be comfortable, and while everybody else is having to still worry about it.
At some point, when you can wear a tank top without a strapless bra, and you don't have to worry about all these different things.
You've got more room in your suitcase for souvenirs.
That's
you
right.
can, so I'm all good. I know my packing is going to be great for when I do that. Yeah. And I won't lie, I did have a moment too where I went into the Victoria's Secret thinking they're going to have some things, we're going to go through this. And in my mind, it'll still be normal. They have nothing for breast cancer patients. And I did have a little bit of a meltdown because that was going to be my normalcy. Like I was still going to be able to go and, but I could be able to slip my little inserts in and be okay. They have nothing. And so, finding places, Land's End ended up being one that, swimsuit, I can order a swimsuit and I can still go. Because I tried on my swimsuits thinking I'd be able to pull it off. Yeah. So I'm going to order a new one with Land's End. For Valentine's Day, it was actually on Valentine's Day, there was a friend that actually gave me some little silicone inserts that I am getting ready to order my Land's End swimsuit that can actually get in the water. I have not reached the stage yet, though, where I was waiting on my swelling and everything to go down before I could be measured. They do provide free services where they will provide you with prosthetics. Oh, good. And so that is my next step. I just wasn't quite there yet. And so, but to get that, I giggled because, there's also a thing called knitted knockers that make you laugh.
Fancy.
People from all over the world donate their knitting time to help put inserts that you can wear. Oh, wow. And I put those in the first time and I smiled. I'm not going to lie, I smiled, but I knew that no matter what, I was going to be okay. Yeah. And my family has been supportive. Mm-hmm. I giggle when I put a shirt on and my belly may be just a little bit bigger than my top half. I can giggle about that now. Yeah. And I'm okay with that because I know that I am strong and I made it through with the help of my care team, my family, my friends, all the people praying for me. Mm-hmm. I knew that I didn't have to have reconstruction to move on. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's important, is being comfortable in your body and realizing that throughout our lives, we're going to get scars of all shapes and sizes. Mm-hmm. Some of us might get hardware. Some of us might have things removed, like our breasts. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. That's what makes us us. Yeah. And that's what gives us a story. Yeah. And I think it's really important that you wanted to talk to us because so many women have to go through this or know someone that go through the breast cancer journey, whatever their journey looks like. And I think it's liberating to speak to someone who did not want to go through the reconstruction and wanted to embrace it and say, this is a chapter in my life. I'm ready for the next chapter, but I want to help other people. Right. That have to go through this journey. But also, too, to pay attention to your body. I mean, in your instance, that was hard because it was the spider bite.
And I didn't have any symptoms. No symptoms. But mentally, I had always thought that you would have symptoms. And then my doctor told me the majority of the people won't have symptoms. And so that's what was surprising to me, was that fact. Because I'd always check, check for lumps, check for this.
Yes.
But I will say, continue, even if they tell you have dense breasts, continue your mammograms, continue the diagnostic, continue the ultrasound. You have to do them every year.
Yeah.
COVID, I may have stretched that out a little bit during that COVID period because, in my mind, I just didn't really want to go through, all of that during COVID time.
Sure.
And so, but you can't do that. And I know that now. Yeah. You've got to focus and know that there's a reason why so many providers and so many national groups are telling you October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yeah.
There's a reason you need to go.
That's right. You need to go. And we talked to so many people on the podcast that never had symptoms for lots of things, whether it's colonoscopies, they had colon cancer, never had symptoms. They needed heart surgery, never had symptoms. I mean, time and time again, we hear no symptoms. And so that's why it's really, really important that don't just take time in October, take time all year. If it is your time to have a mammogram, make the time, go get a mammogram. Doesn't take long, doesn't hurt, but also know, do you have a family history? But also, I know Dr. Preservate is one that will tell you family history does not mean that you will or won't have it.
No.
So you can't depend just on family history, but knowing will help for sure. And we're just glad that you took a few minutes with us today to tell your story, because your story is very unique. And we hope that it helps somebody on the podcast. Hey, if you're watching this and you're going through it, go check this book out, When Boobs Attack, get a little humor. But also tell those around you how they can help you, whether it's a Netflix subscription or a DoorDash coupon or something. Let people around you help. And then, like you said, call your doctor. If you have concerns or questions, get off Google, Dr. Google, and get off your patient portal and call your doctor if you have questions and concerns. And you said it best, you do you. Your journey is your journey. So at some point, we're going to want to check back in with you and see how you're doing on your journey.
Sure.
But thank you for sharing that journey with us today.
Hope it helps.
And I hope that, wish you all the best. I know and pray that you stay cancer-free.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of A View from the Bed, A Patient's Perspective. We hope that you found it helpful. We hope that it helped you make your healthcare decisions. We hope that it made you feel a little more comfortable with your own journey. And we hope that you'll join us next time.